All right, welcome back to Chaos to Clarity. I'm meteorologist Bernie Rayno. I don't even know where to begin with this pattern. We have one storm that's already left the Northeast. It was mostly an ice machine, sleet. New York City, boy, I thought you'd get an inch or two. It looks like you may have. Cody, an inch was the better forecast. The cold air I thought would stay in a little better. You know what? The cold air was in like I thought it would, but it did not precipitate hard enough this morning. But New York City is always a tough forecast. Now, I don't know where to begin because we are absolutely loaded with snow and ice threats from the Midwest to the Northeast. I want to show you this is our pattern here as we go through the rest of this month. Let me put it on full. You know, what you're going to end up seeing is this. There's plenty of cold air, northern tier of the United States. There's some Arctic air that's going to be in the northern plains, but from the upper Midwest to the Northeast, it's cold air. Most times it's February cold. It's near where it should be, but it's cold enough for snow. Meanwhile, it's going to feel more like spring from Texas to Florida. And what happens is we're going to see energy after energy diving from the Pacific in toward the Intermountain West, and you're going to see storm after storm after storm coming across the country. Now, we're going to get a break in the action in California after Friday. There may be a bigger storm as we head into Thursday of next week, but I'm counting 3 storms from now through Friday that's going to be impacting the southern plains, Northeast, and Mid-Atlantic with the threat for snow and ice. That's what we're dealing with here over the next couple of days. All right. Let me start off with the first one. You know, when I started this video, I was really going to concentrate on next week. But the more and more I look at this, the weekend storm is really tricky, especially for New York City. I can see how New York City gets half a foot of snow out of this. I could also see how you get, a storm that we just had. A little bit of snow, goes over to ice or sleet, and then ends as a little rain. So it's a tough call. But I do think that this weekend storm is going to be colder than the storm that we had on Thursday. All right. So let's go over this quickly here. And as usual, I'm going to start with the 500 millibar. I'm going to put this on full screen here. Okay. So this is Saturday. This is the upper low. This is the upper low, by the way, that's been sitting off California all week. This is going to end up coming across the country as we head into the weekend here. So we're going to follow that. Let's follow that as we go forward. There it is. Now, I'm going to stop this Saturday morning. Here's the energy. This is what's going to produce the storm. Now, the rule of thumb is where the energy goes by, if you're north of it, you're mostly snow. If you're right along it or just to the south, you're going to have some ice. And if you're too far south, you're going to be snow. So that's right off the bat, that's what we're looking at. So if I'll mark this, and you can see where it goes across southern Minnesota and right along the Pennsylvania-New York border. I'm going to stop this Saturday morning. So right off the bat, I would think here is roughly going to be your snow line or ice line, not so much in the Midwest, but in the Northeast. So that would mean New York City, you're likely going to mix. Boston, you're likely going to be all snow. Buffalo, New York State Thruway, mostly snow. Pennsylvania, you're going to have some ice. That's just right off the bat when I look at where this goes, this energy goes. That's what I would think. There is a little difference in energy strength, though. This is European, this is a GFS. European GFS. You see how the GFS is a little stronger with it? European GFS, European GFS. You see that? That tells me then the European, since the GFS is a little stronger with it, that's how mixing can get a little farther north. That would include New York City. I still think Boston, you're mostly snow. But the stronger this system is, the more likely you're going to mix warm air in the middle part of the atmosphere. That's where New York City comes in. But I'll tell you what, it's a pretty strong system as it comes across the Midwest. And you see how it strengthens? See how it strengthens? You start seeing more yellows, reds, and oranges Sunday. European GFS, European GFS. You see that? European at 1 o'clock, GFS at 1 o'clock. It's a stronger system. What does that mean? That means you're going to see more precipitation with this in the Northeast than you're going to see in the Midwest. So you're going to see more ice in the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast and more snow in the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast than the Midwest. A key part of this for New England is going to be Saturday morning. This is the energy that's going to form the storm. But you see this little trough coming through here? You see that? Both modeling has it. That's the European GFS. What this is going to do is this is going to bring one little last piece of colder air into the puzzle. All right, and this is why Boston, I think, is mostly snow, and why I could see how New York is mostly snow out of this, because of this little injection coming on in. Let me show you the surface map for Saturday morning. Here comes our storm, right? Here comes our storm. This is Saturday morning, and watch what happens here as I get to Saturday evening. You see this little high? European has it. This builds across New England as the storm arrives. You see that Sunday morning right there. This is the key to New York City. How strong is this high? Because what I think it's going to do is it's trying to drive cold air all the way down into New York City and the southern tier and the northern tier of New York. You'll notice the GFS. The high's way up here. Notice where the high is. Here on the GFS, right? Here on the European. That's the difference in New York City. Also, the strength of the shortwave, although it's all connected. But I tell you what, this is going to be a pretty good snowstorm. I think for New England, New York State. I'm starting to think there's not going to be a big snow across the upper Midwest. I'll show this to you, but I want to show you the difference in New York City. New York City is kind of the focal point with this. I'm going to look at the sounding here, and I want to show you the sounding for New York City. This is Sunday night. Now, this looks complicated, but it's not. You see this line right here? This is the freezing line. You're looking at the temperature and the dew point here. All right, temperature and dew point. Temperature in red, dew point in green. And this is looking through the depth of the atmosphere. This is the surface, and this is aloft. So we're looking at the depth of the atmosphere. And you'll notice that the temperature and dew point here in New York City, this is 1 a.m., is to the left of this line. This is the 32 degrees Fahrenheit line. So that what that means is that this entire atmosphere is below 32. What does that mean? It's all snow. Okay. That's because the European has a deeper cold air. And as I go forward with this into Sunday morning, this is, watch this, doesn't change much. This is where the storm starts to end, but you see the entire atmosphere is below freezing. So this is the European. Now look at the GFS. What you're going to notice is this. There's going to be this little area in here that goes above the freezing line, which means you're going to get sleet. This is the European. See the GFS? You see the difference? European, GFS. You see this little area in here. Here's your 32-degree line. There's this little area in here that's above freezing. The GFS says there's too much warming aloft because the upper piece of energy is stronger, so it brings more warming in and it changes to sleet. That's a huge difference for New York City. That's the difference right here is the difference between a coating to an inch of snow and 3 to 6 inches of snow in New York City. That's how little the differences are. But little differences make a big difference in the snow amount in New York City. Let's go back to the surface map and we'll track this first one. Here it comes. And again, here it comes. This is European GFS. You see the GFS a little farther north with the storm. Why? Because it has stronger piece of energy. European GFS. See how the European GFS is more red with that? You see it right in here? So that means the storm's a little farther north. That means you get mixing farther north. The European, a little weaker. Just a tad. Just a tad. But that means the storm's a little farther south. That is the difference, along with the injection of cold air, between New York City getting a coating to an inch of snow and getting 3 to 6 inches of snow. Here's the European. See, the storm tracks is a little farther south. GFS, European. GFS, European. See? European, GFS. European, GFS. Just a little farther to the north. All right, so that's storm number one. Well, let me show you the snowfall amounts with this. Here's the snowfall amounts with this. I think you're looking at a lot of 1 to 3s and 3 to 6s here across the Midwest. I don't believe there's many areas in here that pick up over 6 inches of snow here. I think Minneapolis is 3 to 6, Green Bay is 3 to 6, Traverse City, Saginaw, Grand Rapids, Detroit 1 to 3, coating 1 inch in Chicago. Now, within this blue area, you may see 1 or 2 spots getting 6 or 7 inches of snow, but I don't think you're going to see many areas over that. So this whole area you could see is 3 to 6 inches, but you'll notice, let me take this off so you can see it, higher amounts across New York State. Why? Because that energy is strengthening, right? Let me move this over so you can see the map a little more. Let me zoom on in. So right now, 3 to 6 inches in the Boston area, in the Worcester area. I think Hartford, Providence, 4 to 8 around the Boston area, Worcester. I think Albany's 3 to 6, Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, 3 to 6. I kind of like more like 1 to 3 in Buffalo, but I could see 3 to 6 Batavia, Rochester, Syracuse, around 5 or 6 in Albany, Boston, Worcester, towards Springfield. I think it's 4 to 8 inches of snow. Here's your key up here, 3 to 6 inches, I think in Hartford, in Providence. New York City, we have a coating to 1 inch. I don't know what to say in New York City. If it was up to me, you know what I would say? Coating to 1 inch or 2. In fact, let's say that for New York City, northern New Jersey, and all of Long Island. Although you get into Warren, Sussex County, it's 1 to 3. But I would have a coating to 2 inches in this area. Again, this is going to be Saturday night. And then, you get the Burlington 4 to 8. This is going to be a lot of 4 to 8 inches of snow in this darker blue area with an AccuWeather local storm max of probably 10, 11, 12 inches in here. But I think it's a lot of 4 to 8 inches, including Boston. All right. That's storm number 1. But we're not done. Not by a long shot as we get in the next week, because let me get to the weather pattern here as we get into Monday of next week. So let me go full so you can see this. So here we go into Monday. Here's what's going on. You have another system, northern piece of shortwave, and then you have this southern piece of shortwave. This is going to be storm number 1 as we get into Monday night into Tuesday. And you could see, once again, GFS is a little stronger than the European. European GFS, European GFS, European GFS. But with the energy coming this far south, this looks to me like this is mostly a mid-Atlantic storm. Not much in Boston, although I think there can be some. But if you want snow from New York City, Philadelphia to Washington, D.C., this is your opportunity as we get into Monday night, Tuesday, and Tuesday night. Now, the GFS is a little stronger with this system than the European, but the key is look where the storm is. Look where the energy is. It's in the mid-Atlantic states. It's not up here. It's down here. That means the storm's going to be farther south, right? And there's a nice injection of cold air coming in behind our weekend storm. So there's the European, there's the GFS, there's the European. European a lot weaker with it, but still it's far enough south that it's all snow, I think. Certainly in New York City and probably Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., you're close. Let me show you the surface map with this as we move forward here. So here we go in the next week. Here comes your storm. This is the European. Here we go. Monday afternoon. Here it comes. Tuesday in the Wednesday morning. You see where the storm is? And because it's all the way down here, this is all snow. This would look like a general 1 to 3, 2 to 4 inches of snow if the European were like Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. I think Washington, D.C. could get a couple of inches of snow before a mix of ice. I think most of Pennsylvania, 1 to 3, 2 to 4 inches of snow. New York City, at least 1 to 3. I could see a little more with that as it goes by. Now, you'll notice the GFS, because it is stronger energy, is a lot stronger. All right. Now, the snow area is the same from Philadelphia to New York City to Boston. It's just more of it. This would be a solid 3 to 6 inches of snow from Philadelphia toward to New York City. Washington, D.C., at least 1 to 3 inches, if not more. Could be 3 to 6 for you if it doesn't mix. And then a couple of inches in Boston. I'm skeptical, though. I am skeptical that the GFS is right. I think this is going to be a weaker storm than what the GFS is talking about here Tuesday night. And here's why. Because you have another piece of energy rounding the bend. Let me show you. See, here's your first piece in here, but you see you've got this other piece. This is the stronger of these two storms. This will be Wednesday and Thursday. And both modeling has that. There's the European, there's the GFS. You see how they both have this piece of energy? So that tells me that this lead piece is probably going to be weakening, not strengthening. So that's why I tend to, and I could be wrong, but I tend to believe that this storm coming out Tuesday is more European than GFS, that it's a weaker system. So instead of getting a band of snow from Washington, D.C. of 3 to 6, locally 8 or 9, from Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, this is the GFS solution right here. Instead of this, I think it's this, and it's less precip, and it's more like a 1 to 3. That's kind of what I'm thinking right now. Now, we'll have to wait and see. But certainly, if you live from Philadelphia, New York City, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., your storm is for snow. It's going to be Tuesday night. At least a couple of inches. Could be 3 to 6 if the GFS is right, but that's what you have to be ready for. Boston, you'll be on the northern fringe of this. Most of Pennsylvania, at least 1 to 3 inches, could be 3 to 6. Southern New York, same story. Heaviest snow would be south of the New York State Thruway with this storm on Tuesday. Again, we'll show it again really quick, and then I've got to end with the next storm. That's going to be Wednesday, Thursday, but see, there's the GFS, there's the European. So again, this looks like a Pennsylvania, Maryland, New Jersey storm, at least 1 to 3 inches. I could see a little more, 3 to 6, if the GFS is right with the strengthening, but I tend to believe that it's going to be weaker. And then I'm going to wrap this up. You've got the next system coming through. Now, you'll notice a couple of things here. You'll notice this storm coming on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, there's a lot of cold air with this. That's why I think this is all snow from New York City toward Washington, D.C., although Washington, D.C., I can see some mixing. Now, what happens, that storm goes by, this is Wednesday, and then look what's going on here. Wednesday, across the southern plains, you've got the next system. That's the energy that's rotating around the base of our trough here. That is this system right here. Here it is Tuesday, West Coast. It comes around. It's not going to do much in California, but this comes around the bend, and this becomes the Wednesday, Thursday storm. They're all loaded up, and you can see the modeling pretty similar with them. Here's the European. Here it comes. Now, rule of thumb is this is going to take more of a track like this. So from New York City on south, this is all going to be maybe some snow that goes over to some mixing. And even the GFS is the same thing. You could see the track of it. See, it's a farther west track, right? Farther north and west. So that means the storm is going to take more of a northern track, and that means more ice going over the Rayno along the 95. Let me show you the storm tracks here. See, here it comes. Here comes the next storm. All right, so this is the GFS. Again, some snow that probably goes over to rain along the 95 corridor, Philadelphia to New York City, Washington, D.C. as well. GFS, I think pretty much the same thing, that you get a little front end snow, but it goes over to rain. This would be a pretty good storm for New York State and southern New England. And it does need to be said that southern New England will be the place to be. This is the area to be over the next week to 10 days. Central eastern New York State to southern New England. I think a city like Boston, by the time you have 3 storms coming again, Saturday night, then you have the storm coming Tuesday night, then another one as we get into Wednesday, Thursday. I think Boston will easily get over a foot of snow from all of those storms. In fact, much of eastern New England, of this area, right in here, Albany's probably in that as well. Probably Providence, Hartford, Boston, Portland, Maine. I think this area will easily get over a foot of snow from all of the storms, the next 3 storms that we're dealing with. It's a lot of snow for them. They haven't had much. I think they're going to get it. Across parts of Pennsylvania and New York State, at least a few to several inches of snow with these storms, but there's going to be some mixing that you're going to have to deal with here. So again, it's a very complicated, weather pattern here with 3 storms. I'm going to go over them again just so you see them, and then we're going to end this. So again, here's storm number 1. This is this weekend. All right, that goes by. GFS and European, somewhat similar. New York City is a tough one. I'm just going to say according to an inch or two in New York City. And then we will have snowfall maps with these storms as we get a little closer. Okay? I showed you the one for the weekend storm, and then you have the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We will have snowfall maps with those. All right? And then, little break in the action Monday. Here's storm number 2. And again, Europeans a little weaker, a little farther south. This would look more like a 1 to 3 to me. 2 to 1 to 4, 2 to 3, 1 to 3, 2 to 4 inches of snow from New York City toward Washington, D.C., across much of Pennsylvania. This storm will be the colder of the storms for many, and that's why I think New York City, it's all snow with this one, Tuesday into Tuesday night. That goes by, and then the next storm is a little stronger. So, the I-95 corridor from D.C., Philadelphia, New York, you'll start off with snow and ice, but you're going to go over to rain. This will be a pretty good storm for much of New York State, northern Pennsylvania, New York State, and southern New England. Southern New England, or I should say eastern New England, that area from Albany toward Portland, Maine, toward Boston, toward Providence, toward Hartford. I think the combination of these 3 storms, many areas in that zone will see over a foot of snow by the end of next week. It's fast and furious. By the way, we're not done. We're not done because then we have another system that's going to be coming into the Northeast. Look at this. As we get into next weekend, I don't have all the details, but that would be another storm, the 4th storm, late next weekend. They're all lined up. Busy pattern. If you have any questions or comments, you can follow me on X. I'm at Rayno. Make sure you watch the AccuWeather Network in the morning. I'm the chief meteorologist for the AccuWeather Network. We're on Comcast in the streaming section. I think it's channel 420 in the streaming area, but we're also on, I forget all the different platforms we're on. So if you have the AccuWeather Network, make sure you watch me. I'll be talking about this all morning. Again, I appreciate you watching this. I hope everybody has a fabulous Friday, and I'll see you on X Friday morning.